If you're thinking about moving to Columbus, Ohio, or maybe you already live here and you're trying to decide what is the right suburb for you, today we're boots on the ground in Worthington. It's one of Columbus's oldest suburbs, and I'm going to take you on a walking tour so you'll get to see for yourself what it's like to live here. And in today's video, you're going to get to check out downtown Old Worthington, the real estate, the surrounding neighborhoods, parks, schools, and more, and we're getting after it right now. Worthington, this is like a gem of Columbus. Columbus has a lot of great historic neighborhoods, but this is truly right at the top. And the reason I say that is, if you look around, the vibe down here is straight out of New England, and that's for a reason. When Worthington was founded, the founders actually were a group of men from New England that were going to be settling to the west. And when they came here, they bought 16,000 acres of land to build this community. And what you see around us is like federal style buildings. This is like when you go to New England, like if you go up to New Hampshire, Connecticut, Massachusetts, this is the kind of the small town vibe. This is not very Ohioan to me, but this is again very unique and why I think it makes this place so special. Columbus was founded 9 years after Worthington actually. And it wasn't until the late 1890s that they built an electric streetcar that ran from down High Street. So High Street's gonna go right through Worthington all the way to downtown Columbus, and that connected the two. Today is just a bustling suburb. There's 15,000 residents here, so it's not too big, and it's never really gonna grow. It's completely landlocked here. So what you're gonna find is a lot of older style architecture. It can go back as early as the 1800s, and the latest is usually around 1970s, maybe 1980s, but most of it's in the 1940s and 1950s. And we've got some really cool neighborhood tours today. I'm so excited to share these places with you because again, I think the architecture is so unique for Columbus. Worthington got its name from an Ohio Senator, Thomas Worthington, and this is called Village Green. So this is kind of like the downtown quad. This is where every Saturday running from May to October, this is where they're gonna have a farmer's market. And it's gonna run from like 8 a.m. to about noon. And in the wintertime, they actually move the market. There's a mall that's up the street. It's called the Worthington Palace. And if you go to Worthington Palace, it's just an indoor mall, and they run the farmer's market through the wintertime too. But during the summer, they have a lot of like live music festivals that are down here. They have arts festivals. And so this is just a place for the community that always comes together here in downtown Worthington. When you're walking the sidewalks, just check out all the unique boutiques and locally owned restaurants. It just has its own really neat downtown vibe to it, and it's very patriotic. You can go up and down the street, you see the American flags everywhere. I love that about Worthington. It just has so much rich history and heritage, and it truly feels historic. So in this corner, we have Kitty's Cakes, and I used to go to Kitty's. There's another one that was down in German Village, so I used to go there every morning with my old real estate broker. He was like 85 years old, so we would get the classic sweets in the mornings with our coffee. But if you're in Worthington, definitely check out Kitty's Cakes. They have like little mini cupcakes and have all kinds of other cookies and things. It's like one of my favorite places in Columbus. As we make our way down High Street, there's a lot of shops and boutiques that are down here. There's some really cool ice cream parlors to check out. When I'm down here, it's just got a really cool historic feel to downtown. All of these little shops and restaurants just stick out like a New England town like we were talking about earlier. And I just think that's like what really sets Worthington off. Across the street, the Whitney House, that's one of the Worthington's like most popular restaurants. Before I go, you got to pay homage to the Worthington Inn. This place is a really cool old hotel. Now it's not a hotel anymore, it's a restaurant, but you even got like the gaslit, lanterns outside. Again, that New England vibe. This place has always been an iconic landmark of Worthington, so I just thought it'd be cool if you guys check this out too. More food points of interest. Behind me is Deweys Pizza. Deweys Pizza is another local's favorite. Columbus, big pizza town. I really enjoyed Deweys. They have actually locations all around the city, but here's one on High Street in Worthington. And then right across the street, it's also gonna be Le Chatelaine. Now, Le Chatelaine holds a special place in my heart just because my grandmother used to drive 2 hours to come meet me at Le Chatelaine. It's a French bistro. They've got really good French baguettes, and they got all kinds of French pastries and tarts. It's really good, and it's just, again, it just fits in with like Worthington. So I said we're gonna talk about history today, right? So apparently, reading the sign, we're standing in front of the oldest continuous operating lodge in Ohio. It's called the New England Lodge. Bad Boy's been here since 1820. That's amazing, and it's still operating as a lodge today. So learn something new, that's pretty cool. All right, so another thing we gotta touch on is Worthington's location. Worthington sits right at 12 o'clock. If you think of 270 Outer Belt as a clock, we're right at midnight. We're right downtown right now, which is right inside the Outer Belt. Now, if you're moving to Worthington Worthington and you're going to be working, let's just say at Intel, you're about 20 to 25 minute drive to New Albany, Johnstown area. If you're going to be working at Dublin, you're only like 10 to 15 minutes from Dublin, because as you head north through the old downtown, you're going to hit 270 and go either way. Now you're also like 10 to 15 minutes from the downtown, and you can actually see it from High Street. As I'm looking this way, I can see downtown from here. And then all the neighborhoods in Worthington, they're all feeders into here. It's about 5 minutes to any neighborhood in Worthington. So I just think Worthington has like an A+ location for Columbus. All right, so you families that have young kids, Graeters is a must. As you can see behind me, there's like a million kids everywhere. And this is like every day that's down here. And maybe it's their second favorite ice cream. Everybody loves Jenny's. I actually love Graeters. And if you're gonna go to Graeters, take me up on this. Get the black raspberry chip. They have these huge chunks of chocolate. I don't know where this chocolate comes from, but it's like the best chocolate of any ice cream I've ever had. So I just think it's a real treat. So come down to Graeters. So if you're thinking about moving to Columbus and you need a one-stop guide for everything that is Columbus, check out our relocation guide in the link below. It's going to tell you everything there is to know about Columbus, whether you want to live in the suburbs, downtown, the schools, the shops, the entertainment. Everything's going to be in there for you. I've done all the homework for you, so check out the description box below. All right, so if you're thinking about moving to Worthington, let's start about the entry level. And we're in Colonial Hills right now. Average size of house in Colonial Hills is gonna be between 1,400 square feet and a maximum 2,000 square feet. I looked up the records. Every single house in this neighborhood is gonna be below 2,000 square feet. The most popular style houses in a neighborhood like this are gonna be Cape Cod style houses. And there's also a lot of 2-story houses and a lot of like cool craftsman style houses. Right behind me, this is a really cool Cape Cod. Now this 2-story addition on this house, this is definitely gonna be one of the larger houses that you'll see in a neighborhood like this. And to get into this neighborhood, prices start about 300s and they go up to about mid 400 price point on average. Now the days on market on average in this neighborhood like this, it's only 3 days. So you have to be really quick if you see a house you love in this neighborhood. But it is about as charming as it gets. This neighborhood, all the houses here were built between the 1940s and 1950s. Everything is really mature, all the landscaping is mature, and all of the houses have so much character. So this is one of my favorite neighborhoods, and it's relatively very cheap for Worthington. All right, our first house on our tour today here in Colonial Hills. Right behind me sits a house that just sold. So this went on the market for $399,000, sold for $450,000. And it's 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. It was built in 1948. It's about 1,470 square feet, and the taxes are $7,400 a year. But look at what a cool Cape Cod house this is, and the tree in the front of this yard is like this classic oak tree. That you doesn't get any better than that. So for $450,000, that's what you get in Colonial Hills. So let's talk Worthington Schools. I'm right outside the high school. This is Thomas Worthington High School, named after Thomas Worthington of Worthington. Folks, we had no idea this was gonna be going on today. The old school that was here was a very cool, historic old building, but they completely knocked it down. And from what I can tell here is they're building like a replica of it. And my cameraman actually laughed. He said his mom used to go to school here, and she's called it decrepit. She said it was just really old, but it's a really cool, I love historic buildings. I hate to see when we lose them, but they had to expand. So we're gonna do some additional research and see what's going on with the school. With the state of Ohio report cards, 4.5 stars out of 5. That still makes it about a tier 1 school. Great schools, and we'll see what they're going to be doing here. I don't know. For this neighborhood tour, we are in Olentangy Highlands, and this is quickly becoming one of my favorite neighborhoods. I've been taking a lot of buyers through here, and what I like about it is it has a lot of terrain. There's a lot of cool ravines, and it traverses up and down some hills. Now, if you're in this neighborhood, it's $400,000 to $600,000. You're gonna get a home about 2,000 to 3,500 square feet that only lasts like 3 days on the market. I know I keep saying that, but literally everywhere is about 3 days on the market. We're looking up the data on this. But if you want a more traditional home, these have a lot of traditional homes in this neighborhood. They're all gonna be 2 stories. They're all built in 1970s, and I've got 2 really cool homes to show you next. So for our first house tour in Olentangy Highlands, the home behind me is $545,000. It's 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 2,500 square feet, and about $7,500 in taxes. Now it's a traditional home and it's less updated. And if you want to see what an updated home goes for in this neighborhood, just stay tuned. All right, so for our second home tour, this home behind me went for $600,000. It just sold, and it's slightly bigger than the last house you saw because this one's 2,900 square feet, it's 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and it's $10,500 in taxes. So just for $50,000 more, you get a little bit bigger of a house, you get that extra bathroom, and you're gonna get all the beautiful updates on the inside because this one is updated all the way and it's still only $600,000. So for this neighborhood tour, we are in Worthington Hills, and there's something here for everybody because homes go from $400,000 all the way up to $800,000 in this neighborhood. And most homes were built in the 1960s to early 1970s, and they range from about 2,500 square feet all the way up to about 4,000 square feet. So right behind me, this is Worthington Hills Country Club, and this is what this community is all about. It's a big golf course community, and if you have a family, I really encourage you to come check out this neighborhood. It is so family oriented. As we were sitting here talking to you guys, there was kids running behind us, they're on the golf cart, and there's just kids like on bikes, and everywhere you go in this neighborhood, there's just parents that are out walking their dogs and people are socializing. And like I said, there's just so much activity that goes on in a neighborhood like this. So it's very highly social. And it's really cool because this neighborhood actually sits on a plateau. So we were actually, when you come into the neighborhood, you drive up a big hill and then this whole area sits in this really high plateau. And when you go back down that hill, there was what's called the Hills Market. And that's a really good local market that a lot of the neighbors, in this neighborhood would go and use on a daily basis. And we're on the north end of Columbus. We're outside the 270 outer belt on the northern edge of Worthington Hills. It was all developed in the 1960s, and what's crazy about it is when it was developed, I've seen aerial photos of this area, there was no trees. And if you drive around here today, there is the most gorgeous tree-lined streets that you can find anywhere, and I swear you can make a Hallmark movie out of it. So I really encourage you, if you have a family, come check out Worthington Hills, and we're gonna go see a home right now. For our home tour in Worthington Hills, this home that sits behind me is $800,000. It's 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. It's 2,900 square feet, and it was built in 1980. And the taxes run $12,500 a year. Our last neighborhood tour today, we are in the village of Riverly, and I saved the best for last. The village of Riverly actually has their own governance. They have their own mayor and city council member, but you're still part of the Worthington City School District, and you're right near Old Worthington. The neighborhood's gonna span from High Street down to the banks of the Olentangy River, and homes in this neighborhood are gonna range from about $500,000 on the low end, that's towards High Street, up to over $1 million when you get down to the river. Most homes in the core of the neighborhood are gonna be about $700,000 to $850,000. 2,500 square feet, about 4,000 square feet, and they're gonna be on the market an average of just 7 days. Now the reason it's a little bit higher than some of the other neighborhoods that we saw today is definitely because of the higher price point. But don't be fooled, these homes go really fast. And you're actually gonna be really close to Rush Run Nature Preserve. You can do some really cool bird watching down there. And then we're actually at the banks of the Olentangy River, so you have access to the Olentangy Trail. So come with me, I got 2 really cool houses to show you. On our first home tour in Riverly, we're right across the street from a house that just sold for $830,000. Now last year it sold for $730,000, so in 1 year it went up $90,000. But it's 4,500 square feet, it's 5 bedrooms, 4.5 baths, and you gotta pay attention to the taxes when you're down here because it has a whopping tax bill of $21,000 a year. And if you wanna live on the other side of the street, the houses on the other side of the street go for well over $1 million. If you look at around us, this is a beautiful, beautiful area. This is one of the most prestigious neighborhoods in all of Worthington, I would say in all of Columbus. So I would highly recommend, if you can afford it, come down and check out Olentangy Boulevard. We're right on the banks of the Olentangy River, and you also have quick access to the Olentangy Trail. There's a lot to do around here, and again, we're only about 5 minutes from Old Worthington. So for our second house tour in Riverly and our last tour of the day, this is special. Right behind me sits a $1.25 million home. It has 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths. It's 3,500 square feet. So why Why is it so much? It sits on 1.25 acres and it sits right on the Olentangy River. So behind this home is a beautiful patio. You got a wooded lot that goes right down to the banks of the river. These homes are really special on the street because they only come on the market maybe 1 or 2 times a year. So if you're in the market for a home like this, you have to be really opportunistic. But for the lot characteristics that it has, it doesn't get much better than this anywhere in Columbus. So let's talk about parks, and we're at the Olentangy Parklands, and we're right at the trailhead of the Olentangy Trail. It features walking trails and boating access. They have pickleball courts going on behind me. More than 2 miles of multi-use trails that serenely go around the Olentangy River, shaded by like large sycamore trees. It's a popular trail used by people who love to bike, to jog, inline skate, walk their dogs while enjoying all this beautiful scenery. And it's 100 acres of parkland, so it's a true resource for Worthington folks who love wildlife. And you know, there's soccer fields that are down here. There's Winding Adventure Skate Park. There's 2 neighborhood playgrounds with swings and tot lots and river access for kayaks and canoes. So it's a wonderful park for reserving all 4 seasons as well. So if you're a photographer, come down here during any season you want. You're going to get some great shots. So what a great resource in terms of parks for Worthington. So we're at Kilburn Middle School, and we were just at the high school, which they knocked down. And as you can see behind me, they don't make schools like this anymore. Where I grew up going to middle school, we had a cool school like this, and I can't go back and visit anymore because they knocked that one down too. So I think it's really important to preserve schools like this, and we're right downtown, you know, next to Old Worthington. So if you're living downtown, it's the classic where you can walk your kids to school, they could bike to school, they got parks around the school, and it's just a really beautiful place. And I'm just hopeful that they can hang on to this one, and I don't want to see it go, because if you see behind me, where else can you find a school like this? So that concludes today's tour of Worthington. I am exhausted, but I really appreciate you guys sticking around to the end. If you're thinking about making a move to Columbus, take us up on our free relocation guide. It's in the description box below. We hope to see you on our next tour right here.